Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Open Live Q&A. This is week number 118. My name is Brian McLogan, and yes, I was like, oh, let me go ahead and try to get the timer going, and then I realized I have no time before it's time to go live. So it is time for another live stream and time to take in your questions. I was hoping to try to get on here a little bit earlier and get some time for you guys to submit your questions, but don't worry, guys. You can always go ahead and submit your questions at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. You guys can obviously go ahead and put them down in the chat as well, which I will eventually go ahead and get to as many questions as I possibly can tonight. So thank you so much for all of you that have submitted a question up to this point. And then, and yeah, I'll try to do my best, but always with the comments, it's not always as cut and dry. I actually didn't even have time to like adjust my camera or anything for you guys. Jeez, oh man. Going crazy. So yeah, it's been kind of busy. I know a lot of you guys are kind of getting back into the swing with school from, I've seen spring break and just spring break and kind of like the last little test before we get into the testing season. So I do have some cool things that I am looking forward to coming up as far as some videos and also some things I'm going to also be doing for the upcoming next couple weeks. But yeah, I do also wanted to apologize for all of you that have been in the 30-day challenge. It has been a little bit difficult for me to be able to kind of keep up with the 30-day challenge and really kind of get my emails exactly where I wanted to be. So I had family in town for the last 3 weeks and I just was unable to really update. The only thing I was really able to do was get the problems out onto the emails, and an app and everything else I used last year was just not available again for this year. And I just did not have the time to update the emails that was getting sent out because I did 5 challenges all in a row. So it was a lot, and I do apologize for all of you that were kind of following along. But regardless, obviously you guys can always email me if you have any issues or questions on that, but that was a free challenge, and hopefully you're still able to complete the challenge and just doing a math problem every day, because now it is time for upcoming testing season. And so whenever I see April and May, to me, that just tells me testing. So hopefully you guys are ready. Hopefully you guys are prepared, and I will hopefully try to do my best to be able to help you guys out as well with that testing season. And if you guys have not already posted a question, but also just a reminder, guys, you can also go ahead and post questions, not at the challenge, but you guys can also go to my Discord server if you have not already checked in on there, and just kind of, go over and post questions, get help. It's a great community for you guys to kind of interact with each other and, kind of see where other students are going on. They're taking the same classes as you, or maybe might have some of the same questions that you have. So let's go ahead and get into some request questions. I only have a couple math questions, so feel free again, guys, if you do have questions, post them at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll try to do my best to be able to get to those questions for this live stream. All right. I'm an active therapist who is currently taking classes to get an RN. I have been asked to tutor math twice a week. Is there a good math book or website where I can print off worksheets? The only one that I still used a lot, I would just say was Kuta Math. They had KUTA math. I use them quite a bit just for worksheets. If you want to do something specific as far as an example, they always had free worksheets. I know that was kind of back in the day, and I know now there's tons more options out there, but I still kind of revert to, Kuta. I think I definitely wouldn't mind giving them a shout out because they definitely had helped me, a lot of times as I was a teacher when I needed a worksheet, and they always kind of came in clutch for me. So there's probably some different resources that, have come along that maybe if anybody else wants to go ahead and provide them in the chat, but definitely Kuta Math was something that, it's pretty basic, doing how to do this, how to do that. But I think as far as, might be something that might be helpful for you as you're working through them. For myself, it was probably algebra, but yeah, I'd probably say algebra is more difficult for me than geometry. And that's just me personally. y equals mx plus 3, the graphs. Those are lines. As a teacher, why do you think guys stare at one student no matter where? I'm not really sure. I just clicked on that. I'm not really sure I have a great answer for you. All right. I've seen algebra, so I was curious. Yeah, I basically taught algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, math for college, like readiness. I taught pre-calculus, calculus, math for college readiness. And I think that was kind of basically about it. And I did like honors and standard of all of those as well. I'll look at CUDA math. Do you think taking calculus in the summer is a bad idea? I think, Abby, it all really depends on where you're kind of at. I mean, and why you need to take calculus, right? And during the summer, and kind of like your background. Like I would probably say for most students, if you have some kind of foundation in math, maybe you're like retaking calculus, or like you maybe took it in high school and you're like going to take it over the summer, like in college, like that'd probably be a good fit. If you've never taken calculus before and this is your first interaction with calculus, unless you're really trying to, unless you really need to get caught up, I would probably just recommend that you take the time to really focus on understanding calculus and not feeling rushed in that regard. Just because I've seen a lot of students whenever I see students taking math over the summer, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there is that kind of the element of like you are taking a course that is compressed and a little bit faster. So, not all students are going to digest the information the same. And so if calculus is something that you really need and you really need to like understand, I would just maybe ask the question, like, why do you have to take it during the summer? And if preferably not to take it over the summer if possible. But again, like every student is kind of different and it might be something that is totally fine for you. So I'm not, I don't want to give you just a generality and say, don't take it over the summer. It really does kind of depend on you and your situation. Here, I saw your question. I wasn't going to answer it on the live stream because I did want to kind of look into it more. But I think looking into those rules of exponents when you're plugging in the negative is before any kind of like that simplifying is going to be the reason why I excluded the -2 from in that case. Because I'd have to go and look at it a little bit further, but yeah, I think that's going to be the reason for before you apply any properties, that negative inside the logarithm is going to be the exclusion, the reason for the exclusion. I'm going to high school next year. Is there any tips I should know for classes? Yeah, do your work, listen to your teachers. But I think the main thing is like just, stay on schedule with stuff. I think when students are getting to high school, when they get to college, a lot of times they get distracted by all the things that are going on for right reasons, right? So I think it's just really important to kind of make sure you're just staying on top of your classes, making sure you're in communication with your teachers, with your counselors, to really kind of make sure that you're getting exactly what you need. Because there's just so many things that are going on. It's very easy to get distracted and get taken off course. If I'm bad at pre-calculus, I struggle in calculus. Maybe not. I'd probably say, it really kind of depends on like why you're struggling with pre-calculus. And obviously if you're struggling for pre-calculus, you have a really like a weak math background, then obviously that can bring some concerns as far as you going into calculus. It could be that you are just struggling with making the transition from, into pre-calculus for like the upper level mathematics and like the way that the questions and everything else is being taught inside the course, and maybe just getting a different teacher or a different, instruction will make all the difference to you. So I don't want to give you a kind of generality, but typically if you're struggling with a lot of the algebra content or the math content in pre-calculus, that is stuff you are going to want to make sure you understand as going into calculus. And again, that could be something with you. Maybe, you didn't understand some things as well in previous years, and that's kind of like what is kind of getting exposed. Or it just could be, you're having a tough year with, with your current teacher and the current content, and you just maybe need a little bit more time for the stuff to digest, right? So it's not exactly, I would say science, but I definitely want to make sure that you go back through maybe some of the content that you struggled with and feel that you kind of go back over that before you take calculus. It's definitely pretty different. Let's see. What if you were taught high school, or if you? I've only taught high school. I've not taught elementary or middle school. I mean, it's a pretty loaded question. I could definitely go into it, but I mean, as far as like a nutshell, I mean, the calculus, if you're looking, I mean, it's basically the idea of like the derivative and the integral, and that's basically the two things that you're looking at. For the derivative, you're looking at the slope of a kind of curve, and the integral, you're looking at the area under the curve, and that's basically kind of like in a nutshell what is all calculus that we're about. Yeah, I mean, everything, I think, whenever you're looking into like taking math courses, I always do not like, answering these questions. I mean, talk with your math teacher, talk with your counselor, talk with your parents, what's going to be the best solution for you, because everybody's going to be a little bit different on that. I think I answered this before. I'm not sure if you answered, but I think I'd maybe be like, I don't know, maybe an architect or something like that. I don't know. Well, it would be kind of weird. If we're solving the Ferris wheel problems, I am not familiar with. I mean, I think I've solved like some Ferris wheel problems. I'm not really sure exactly in general what you're talking about. Or can we use the, yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, the sine and cosine is related with the unit circle, but yeah, you're going to be using, typically the sine and cosine are going to relate to the height of the Ferris wheel as it's, or the height of the like carriage as it's going around the Ferris wheel from on there. All right. Let me go and check from on here. No, what the heck did I do? Sorry, hold on, guys. I just want to check. Let me see if I can pull this up. Oh my God, are you serious? Hold on the ding. Sorry, I just want to pull those up. And again, guys, just a reminder, if you have any questions that you'd like to go and answer, you guys can go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, or also go ahead and check out my Discord server, where you guys can also go ahead and post your questions in there. So, sorry, I just need to go back to my live platform here. That's a really good question. Oh, well, I actually have something coming up. I have a couple of videos coming up in the next couple of time where I'm going to discuss this. But yeah, were you ever struggling in high school? If you were, how did you manage? So yes, I did struggle in high school. I did struggle with math. And I think as far as like, how did I, manage? It was, I didn't really struggle as much in high school because, I mean, I did, but I just kind of did what I needed to do to kind of like get by. But in college, I kind of had to like I guess you'd say like the rubber hits the road, the coming to Jesus moment. Like, everything was like, crap, if you're going to do this, like if you're going to become a math like major and you're struggling with math, like you got to figure out math. And so my main thing was like, I became, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I came very diligent. Like I need to know what I'm doing. I need to understand things. And I didn't just want to do homework or study just to like do good on the test. Cause I think in high school, that's kind of like what my thought process was, is like, just learn what I needed to learn to pass the test, right? Or to get the grade and then move on. And then once I realized, like I didn't really understand things by doing it that way, then I would spend time in the tutor lab. And even though when I would do the work, I would just force myself to make sure like I need to understand this. I need to understand why I can do it for this problem, but why this problem is much more difficult, right? And like understand, why is that problem more difficult? Why am I being confused on that? And so it was those kind of like questions, what I started asking myself to really kind of further identify, what I was good, like what I was understanding, what I was not understanding. And then that, I think that kind of like just snowballed, and I kept on getting better, a little bit better, and again, like I still consider myself a struggling master. It's not like I look at a math problem, you guys submit questions to me all the time, and it's not like I immediately know exactly the answer. Like sometimes I get questions. I'm like, I need to just look. I need to like look at this, or I need to look something up to kind of remember how to do a problem like this. So math is not something that just comes natural to me. There's a lot that from in my brain that I kind of need to like digest, from on there. And I think from a lot of my videos where a lot of students, will take that I understand math easily. It's like, no, it's like you might understand my explanation because it might be something that I kind of relate a little bit more to you. Like that's how my brain kind of works, where it's not like it's just easy automatically for me. Do it. I remember like linear algebra was pretty down, but I think it was a lot for my professor, not so much of the course. But linear algebra and abstract algebra were two difficult courses I can remember in my class in college. No, I do teach competitive math, like Olympiad math. Yeah, I don't do it. It's just not one of those things that I've really gotten myself into. But yeah, I know. I mean, there's a great subset of it, and I think it's really great to continue to encourage people to go there. But it's just not something I ever did, taught, or kind of have experience with. That is very much correct. I don't. I mean, there's a ton of calculus books. I have a whole bunch of them. I think with calculus and with a lot of math courses, what I found looking at math textbooks is, really, and it's kind of tough too, obviously, if you're looking at this by yourself, but looking into different authors kind of have that. It's kind of like YouTube video, like YouTubers, you'll listen to how somebody explains an equation or a problem, and then you'll watch another one and you're like, I like this person's explanation better. Math textbooks are exactly the same, right? You're basically covering the same content, but how somebody takes you through the process of learning the curriculum is going to connect with some people compared to with other people, right? So I don't have any personal recommendations, from there, but I definitely recommend like looking at more than just one before making a determination on what you're going to buy or what you're going to follow. Yes, thank you, Abby. Yes, I have actually a couple videos. I'll be coming up with that, actually, about that, more of that. Figuring out the graphing and X skill. I'm trying to learn. If you want to, submit your questions on brianmclothing.com/Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to kind of look at that more. But yeah, basically, when you want to find the X scale, besides tangent and cotangent, just take the period and divide it by 4, and that's going to kind of give you the scalar that you'll have for your points. Trying to hang it down. Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Robert, I'm 36 years old and I'm in college. I have to take calculus, but I forgot everything about math. What do you recommend I do? Man, so it's like me going back to, calculus, or like going back to school and having taken another class. I mean, I think, I think you just got to take it with a little bit of, take it with a stride, right? Because everything's not gonna come easy to you, but it's gonna come back, right? It's like riding a bicycle, as I say. Like you're gonna start remembering some things. So I think if you can probably start doing some math ahead of time, would be great. Just to kind of like get your brain kind of working into that mindset of doing some of the math and like remembering some things. So hopefully your professor might, or maybe you took a previous class that would like help you prepare, for what you're about to get yourself into. But then otherwise, like you're going to forget some things and it's going to be frustrating. I mean, I don't think there's any way to kind of avoid that. But I think if you can accept that and understand like, okay, I'm going to probably have to put in a little bit more work than maybe some other students in the class, but I can get through this, right? And there's going to be some tough times, but it's okay. Like that's a part of the learning process. That's what happens when you're doing something that you haven't done in so long. It doesn't matter if it's math. It doesn't matter if it's riding a bicycle. Like it's going to take some time. So give yourself some time for that, and accept that it's going to be frustrating at times, but keep working at it. And I think you can definitely do it. And I'm proud of you for going back to school. Submit it to brevicology.com for security. I'm not really sure I understand exactly what you're talking about from there. Yeah, I mean, I was just interested in math, and I still am. I want to continue like learning math. I think math is very, very beautiful, and it's very intriguing how the more you learn, the more you want to learn more, and more you realize like how amazing it is. And I think it comes to like you got to get to a certain level though of understanding math, and you can't get to that level of like just doing math to get the grade, right? Because if that's all math is to you, then you're never going to really understand the purpose and the beauty behind math, right? And it's just going to be a tool to you, right? Which makes no sense, because why would you learn math as a tool when you have something like this, or when you have something like this, right? So we don't need math as a tool to compete with our calculator, our phone, and blah blah blah. But the understanding and the connections of mathematics is that's where the cool things are. So that's why I got interested in math. That's why I want to continue learning it. Ooh, got some more. All right. So we're going to check those in. I am not in it. I mean, I taught a calculus AB. Never taught BC though, but different those. Yeah, I apologize for that. I mentioned this at the beginning of the course. I had a whole bunch of emails that I meant to do them, and I apologize, guys, for the takeoff app. I don't. That was something that I did promote last year, and they made a change, and I kind of totally meant to fix some of the emails. What I wasn't able to do, I still have family in town from the spring break, and so I do apologize for that. But I have to go back and review and send up another email for you guys. So I do apologize, but yes, there is no takeoff app for that. I am in Botswana. Wow, awesome. Good vibes. It's 3:00 in the morning. Wow, good for you. I'm about to go to school, some physics tests. Well, good luck. Wish you the best. Shoot it on over to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Did you ever put extra credit problems on math tests? Probably in my early years, and then in the later years, not really so much, because I mean, I think it just really benefited students that were really understood the math, and it didn't, I didn't feel like the extra credit was a lot of fair purpose, at least for the math extra credit that I had. Or I thought about. So, and again, like I wanted to test students on what they knew. I didn't want to test student. I didn't want to give, students special treatment if they, just because of math like came easier to them, or if they worked harder than somebody else, from on there. So I didn't really add extra in my last couple of years of teaching. I just kind of like stopped doing it. I didn't really do a lot of it, but, I rather than doing extra credit, I just gave students more opportunities to improve their grade. So that was kind of my balance there. But I like that idea. I'm just going to write that down. Okay. I always forget how to do things when I encounter them. I think the best thing, the quickest thing to do is just create a cheat sheet, write them all down, and like study that cheat sheet as much as possible. You can use note cards as well, but it's just a tool to like kind of help you recall things. The best piece of advice you can do is do more examples with those problems, and that's what I just tell my students. I allowed them to use a cheat sheet so they didn't have to memorize things. But I also told them, like, I don't expect you to have to go home and like memorize things. Like my expectation is we're going to do enough problems that you are going to know how to do these problems. Like you're going to remember these formulas and stuff like that. And then that was always my goal. Awesome. From Nepal. Very cool. People with no app. Yes, that is correct. People with no app. I switched to high school, and the max class that allowed me to join was geometry, ninth grade. No, well, I mean, it's, hey, I mean, I didn't take calculus till I was in college. So I think, I'm not sure what so I got to do AP, B, C, and C. Yeah, I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. I definitely wish you that. Nobody, there is no challenge. The challenge is not going on. So I do apologize for that, but I do not have a challenge after the 30-day challenge for everybody to participate in. So I do apologize for that. Yeah, I think you can definitely still do computer science if you're struggling a little bit with, some trig and, you're in your trig class, like overcome it. Like you got this, put in some little bit of extra work, ask them more questions. I think you can definitely still achieve what you want to achieve, even if you're struggling a little bit with the trig. So, just keep on working at it. And I'm not saying that like that you need to, continue but I just don't think just because you're struggling in one class doesn't mean you can't earn the degree or become what you want to become. Do you recommend math apps like Goth Math? Yeah, I mean, I think those are good. I think they're great ways to be able to learn or to like check your work, right? And I mean, obviously, there's another side of the coin, right? If you're just using those apps to cheat, right? Which is, I mean, hey, that's what you want to do. Like, that's what you want to do. If you're just looking for a grade, then you're just looking for a grade. And, but I mean, I use those apps as well. Like when I want to like check a solution, like I did all my work and I want to make sure I did it correctly. Like I'll use those apps as well, right? So I don't have anything problem with them. I don't think they should be banned or anything like that. Like I think it's amazing that we have that opportunity to be able to use them. It just depends if you're going to use them correctly or not. Like it's I used to give my students all the answers to their homework, right? So I would make a video. I have the answers. Like if you're a part of my course in pre-calculus, like I'd give them all the answers, all the homework, and I'd be like, hey, like there it is, just turn it in. And again, like could students cheat and copy my answers? Of course. Like, hey, you do you. If that's what you want to do. Because guess what? If you get, all of your homework in and then I give you the quiz and you fail it, obviously you did not do your homework. I mean, and I give you like the exact same type of problem and like it's pretty apparent. Now, obviously I understand there's sometimes, things will happen, but it's from doing that for many years, you could definitely tell when students were just copying your work and then we're just hoping that they would and then copying your work and then just hoping they could do something on the quiz, right? Whereas other students, they would do the work and then just use my answers to like check their work to make sure they're doing it correctly. And then they usually do much better on the quizzes and the tests. So it just kind of, I treat those apps just kind of like the exact same way. I mean, if you're just looking for a grade for an assignment, okay, but if you really are looking for a long-term solution, then yeah, you want to use them to assist you, not to replace your understanding. Keep understanding most of the, I mean the rules are just like the rules of exponents. So I mean I just keep on practicing with them. I think once you more practice, you'll start to get the hang of them. I mean cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. I'm not really sure what else you're asking for on that. It could be. It really kind of depends from on there. Well, you're very welcome, Colin. I think probably identities. I think is probably one of the more difficult concepts. I think for students, identities, and yeah, I just say identities in general. I think is difficult for students. Yes, you could definitely do algebra 2 at home. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of the math questions for you guys. I do have a couple that were submitted already. Then I'll get to them. And again, guys, if you want to go and submit your questions, then go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Or you can go ahead and definitely submit questions into Discord. But I'm going to close those out. And then let's go ahead and get over to the questions. Oh, I kind of forgot to go and put it on my thing. All right, so let's go and get to this question first. So, oh, there it is. So it says find the sum u plus v, given that the magnitude of u is going to be 11. Forgot to check that out. And v is going to be 11, and theta is going to be 109. That's going to be the angle between the two vectors. So I don't really like how it's written here. So I'm going to do it like this. Okay, so that means this angle is 71 degrees, and that's going to be 109 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and write our vector. So whenever we're giving a vector and the magnitude and the direction, we can write the vector in those terms. So what we can do is we can say the magnitude, let's just say of w, times the cosine of theta, sine of theta. Okay, so we can do the exact same thing. So this is like this general form here for a vector when given the magnitude times a angle. So what I have here is I have u. Now, if I'm looking at u, that would say, I'm not sure which one is which. So let's call u this one. So let's look at this angle. Now, again, it's really important to look at this angle, though, in what we call standard form. Okay, so starting from here. So let's call that u. Okay, so that angle is going to be 109 degrees. So I can say u is going to equal a magnitude of 11 times the cosine of what? 109 degrees, comma, the sine of 109 degrees. Okay, and then we have v is going to be, again, that's the same thing. Now, if we're going to call this one v, you can see that's going at 0 degrees, right? So that's going to be 11 times the cosine of 0 degrees, sine of 0 degrees. All right, now if I want to do u plus v, now I do have a calculator, but I don't want to spend time typing all this stuff in. So what you can do, though, is just apply distributive property, and hopefully you recognize that the cosine of 0 degrees is going to be 1, and the sine of 0 degrees is going to be 0. So I don't know why I was like, 0. So in this case, what we're going to do, when I want to do u plus v, you're just going to add your x coordinates and you're going to add your y coordinates. So I can apply distributive property here. So I'll have 11 cosine of 109 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to add that to 11 times cosine of, cosine of 0 degrees, which is 1. So that's going to be plus 11. All right. And that's going to be comma here. This is going to be 11 sine of 109 degrees, right? I don't know what that is, so you can use your calculator. And then sine of 0 is just going to be 0. So 0 times 11, so it's going to be there. So that'll be it. So just go ahead and add those up. And then again, to find the magnitude, all you're simply going to do, right? If I want to find the magnitude of u plus v, then remember that's going to be the square root of 11, whatever cosine of 109 degrees, plus 11 quantity squared, plus 11 of 109 degrees, that quantity squared, right? So that's going to be your magnitude. So basically just take those two values, you're going to square them, add them together, and then take the square root, and that's going to be the magnitude. That's basically going to be what your c is, or the distance of your c. Then if you want to be able to find the angle, which again, that's the thing, and give the direction, right? So you want to go and find the direction. So that's going to be the tangent of theta is going to equal, and that's going to be your the y coordinate or the x coordinate. So that's going to be 11 sine of 109 degrees all over. Let's just put this 11 cosine of 109 degrees plus 11. Okay, so you're going to have to obviously do that math and then take the tangent inverse on there. So definitely not doing some math, or at least escaping myself out of there, but hopefully you can kind of follow along from on there. All right, for the next one, two-column proof. I've not done two-column proofs in a while, but I'll try to do my best. So given L is parallel to M and 1 is congruent to 7, prove that A is parallel to B. Okay, so first thing we're going to want to do is do our given statements. Right, so we have our statement and then our reason, right? Okay, so we have L is parallel to M. Well, that is given. All right, and we have angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. And that's also given. Okay, so let's go ahead and write those in. So we have angle 1 is congruent to angle 7. And then we have L is parallel to M. Oh, actually, I did this differently. I was looking at this differently. Okay, so those two are parallel to each other. All right, so, Okay, so we already know that L is parallel, so we want to figure out these two are parallel. Gotcha. Okay, so couldn't we say then that measure of angle 1 is congruent to measure of angle 3, right? If these are parallel lines, then these are going to be congruent because these are what we call corresponding angles. Right? So we have corresponding angle theorem. And then we could also say that measure of angle 3 is congruent to measure of angle 7. Those are also, oh wait, hold on, prove that A and B. So we got to prove that they're going to be congruent. Actually, let me think. Shoot, I actually didn't look at this one. So L is parallel to M. 1 is parallel to 7. Okay, yeah. So 3 and 7 are corresponding angles, right? So now we don't know that they're congruent, right? Because we don't know that A is equal to B. But we can say now, I can't think of what property though, if measure of angle 1, so measure of angle 1 is congruent to measure of angle 7, so measure of angle 1, I'm trying to think what property I want to use. But again, yeah, if like 1 is congruent to 7, right, and 1 is equal to 3 because of corresponding angles, because those are corresponding angles, then measure of angle 3 is going to be equal to angle 7 because corresponding angles. It's not really a great proof. I probably need something else in me there, but I don't know. I'm just going to wrap it up with there. So therefore, well, let's just think. So therefore, then measure of, or so since those are also corresponding angles, I'd have to come back to that. I got to look at, the math is all there. Those are, you can definitely, I would just use that corresponding angles, but my proof is all jacked up. So I need to go and fix it. But either way, the math, or at least the way you need to look at it or explain it, is right on there. Let's go and take, oh, jeez, you guys are, all right, somebody, who's adding all these questions? Somebody's going crazy. Who came in? Okay. Transitive property. Thank you. Yes, that's what I was looking into, was the transitive property. Thank you. Why don't I just finish that up? I'm not sure. So I still wouldn't want to use the transitive. I mean, you want to use the transitive property. So the thing with proofs is just like the way to explain it kind of gets, tricky. So these are corresponding angles, and I said, oh wait, hold on, let's do this. No, I'd say this measure of angle 1 and no, all right, let's do it this way. So what you got to do is first call them there. So then we can say the measure of angle 3 is congruent to measure of angle 7. And we can call that, because of the transitive property, there you go. And therefore we can say that A is going to be parallel to B. And the reason why is basically that we can say that angle 3 and I don't know, we would have or what would be the is it the converse, the corresponding angle theorem? Angle theorem? I think something right around there. That's probably how I'd use that. All right. Which of the following complexes is equivalent to? Oh, geez. Man, I don't know. Jeez. What are you guys trying to do? All right, we'll do this one. I guess I'll work on it and we'll see what we come up with. I want to see if there's somebody that just like submitted 20 questions to me. Oh, come on. Move over. I hate when you do this. There you go. Cool. Yeah, you can submit questions on ellipses. Just go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's also in the pinned in the chat, and you can go there, and I'll try to see if I can do my best. Yes, because right now I'm looking at the question website, and that's the only place where I'm taking those questions. So if you don't submit it there, then I'm not likely to get to your question. I don't understand 10b. All right. Word problems. Come on. Nope. Don't got time for your word problems, you guys. And the reason why, guys, is just word problems. Just like we're at a kind of a time crunch, and obviously to kind of read through them again. Somebody posted another word problem. I'm sorry. It just they're not good for live streams. I have to read them. I have to understand them, and then also it a lot of times they just take a little bit longer from on there. I would simply love to know how I can study to get ready for my Algebra 1 EOC in 1 month. Try to get a study guide from your teacher. Maybe look for some study guides online and practice. Start practicing like every day. Do something for your EOC every single day from now until the EOC timeframe. Go back and redo your tests. Go back and redo your quizzes. Go back and redo your homework. Go back through all of the curriculum that you have taught and then plus some more like a study guide or something else to be prepared. I'm trying to solve this in the box so that I'm having trouble with factoring. If not possible to solve real solutions, how do I prove that with my work? Stop. Okay. Box method. I have no idea, but I guess I'll take a look at it. All right. All right. I guess keep on adding more questions. And hey, Aiden, share. Good to have you on. Thank you so much for joining in. No, okay. Well, I don't understand your question, so fortunately, I don't know what you want from that. I'm having trouble with purchase this problem. All right. We only got about, I'll probably be pulling out maybe, see how many more I got. 1, 2? Yeah, I got 2 more of these. That's fine. I don't know. I got to read through that question. I'll maybe keep that so I can look at it though again, but I'm not going to be able to do it for this live stream. Man, it's like the night of word problems. Again, another more word problem. Sorry, guys. I just do not have time to do word problems on the live streams. Yeah, it's basically, well, it's not so much the lovely math problems. It's just that a lot of students are I'm trying to read through. I'm looking at like a lot of the word problems you're kind of going through. So I ask for questions every week. So Sunday from Sunday, you guys have the opportunity to go ahead and submit your questions. And then, of course, like people just will forget, and then they'll see that I go live or something, and then they'll post their question there. So I always like to kind of look at questions ahead of time. It's always kind of helpful for me. Just to kind of like, even though I don't have a lot of time, I usually only get here like 30 minutes before I go live. It is kind of helpful to look at some questions. So yeah, I'm looking at some of these questions. And again, guys, if I like don't immediately know how I'm going to explain it or answer the question, then I just have to move on to it. Some questions I'm like, that kind of actually looks like a really good question. I'd like to like spend some time looking at. And again, sometimes it's taking me a couple weeks before I've actually had the time to like take a look at what I need to take a look at. But everybody's sending me word problems right now. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I don't have time to read through a word problem while I'm going through a live stream. It's kind of crazy. Yes, Rosa, I can, but again, like every kind of like, I don't have. It's kind of hard to see like the chat and everything going on, so that's why I always tell you guys to go ahead and go to brianmcclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll try to do my best there. Okay, I can help with that problem. Sweet. Let's see here. I think I got, all right, yes, almost done. Almost got them all, and then we'll finish up the stream. Yeah, and some of these questions I'm just going to need more time. Like, for instance, Dylan, like that question, I would need to like take a look at that. It's not something I'm going to be able to do on this live stream from on there. But again, like a lot with the more advanced math problems, I mean, it's going to be something I'm going to, yeah. Another step one. It's just, I mean, a lot of the math, if I'm not like actively going over it or something that I've like actively have my explanation ready, it's just not something I'm going to be able to cover for everything on this live stream, unfortunately. Yeah, 4-year series. I haven't done 4-year series in a very, very, very long time. Probably back in my days of college. So going back into like to knowing and explaining or even doing is not something I'm going to be able to cover, unfortunately. Okay, so that's going to be basically what I'm going to have here. All right, so let's go ahead and hit up some of these questions real quick. All right, so which of the following complex numbers is equivalent to? Well, I guess the only thing in my mind would be to like, well, let's go ahead and rationalize the denominator, right? So let's go ahead and multiply by the conjugate, 8 minus 2i. Okay, and by multiplying by an 8 minus 2i, let me make sure, where is it? There we go. Okay, by multiplying 8 minus 2i in the, there you go, in the denominator here, right, just make sure you apply distributive property. So what we're going to have is 8 times 8, which is going to be a 64. The middle terms are going to cancel, are going to add to 0. And then we have a negative 2i times a negative, or a positive 2i times negative 2i, which is going to be negative 4 times I squared, which is going to be a plus 4. Right, that's going to be negative 4, so that's going to be a plus 4. Yeah, 68, okay. I was just wondering, I'm like, something doesn't work, but yeah, that works, 68. And then in the numerator, we're actually going to have to multiply everything times everything. So 3 times 8 is going to be a 24. 3 times negative 2i is going to be a negative 6i. 8 times negative 5 is going to be a negative 40i. And negative 2 times negative 5 is going to be a positive 10. times I squared, which would be a negative 10 because I squared, remember, is negative 1. Okay, so now let's go and simplify that. 24 minus 10 is going to be a 14, and negative 6i minus a 40i is going to be a negative 46i, and that's all going to be over a 68, which everything can be divisible by 2, right? So that'd be a 7 minus a 23i over a 34. And you can see, hey, that's answer C. This question the student was asking, I think to factor using the box method, but I don't know why you'd want to use the box method here. Like, you can just solve this equation as it is. Maybe not. I don't know. So, I don't know. Let's just y squared minus 2y plus 1, right? Plus 10 equals 91. And then you have to distribute. I deleted the question, so I can't remember exactly what he was asking for. Negative 5 plus 10 equals 91. And then you subtract a 91. So you'd have negative 5y squared plus a 10y. That's a horrible 10y. And then negative 5 plus 5 is, or 10 is going to be a positive 5. And then minus a 91. So that's going to be a negative 86 equals 0. That just doesn't look like a fun problem to be able to use during the box method. You could do it, but it just, I'm assuming, looking at this, but I don't know why you would take this problem. I mean, you could just subtract by 10 and then, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if you're on it. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I was seeing if you had this, but I mean, like, I wouldn't factor this. I wouldn't solve this by factoring. What I'd basically do is just subtract 10. Subtract 10 on both sides. And that'd be an 81. And then I'd divide by negative 5. Well, here you're going to get some complex numbers, right? So y minus 1 squared equals whatever 81 divided by negative 5 is. And then you take the square root. So y minus 1 equals plus or minus, right? And then you square root on the top is going to be a, so let's see, you're going to have a 9i over the square root of 5 plus or minus, and then plus 1. So y equals a 1 plus or minus a 9i over the square root of 5. So then you could just go and write that in the factored form. But yeah, as far as, yeah, so trying to do the factoring, that's probably why you got stuck trying to factor that, because yeah, factoring under those is going to be very difficult from that regard. But what you can do is solve it and then go ahead and put it back in factor form if that's what you needed. All right, determine the equation of the midline of the following graph. So the midline is going to be the half distance between the max and the min, right? So we just want to look for the half distance. So here we have 1 and we have negative 3, right? So we want to see, well, what's going to be the kind of like difference? What's going to be right in between? And it looks like to me here, we're going to be at negative 1. Right? So that's going to be, so you can basically say like 1 plus negative 3 divided by 2, right? That's going to be like the difference here. And if you look at that, what we'll get is going to be a negative 1. And so y equals negative 1 is going to be your midline. I mean, definitely polynomials and rational expressions, I think, is very, very, polynomials and functions, I think, is like the most important, but really a lot in algebra too, but definitely like the first 3 quarters of the semester. The later stuff, which is going to get more into statistics, is not as usually as necessary in pre-calculus. Rosa, I'm not sure what your question is about. What about the standard form from that? But if you want to, I'm not really sure what your question is. So phone is working here. So the problem is, so I think your question was like how to simplify this, I'm assuming. So if I had the sine fourth of x minus the cosine of fourth times x. All right, now you can factor that using the difference of two squares. Sine squared of x minus sine, what am I doing? Sine squared of x minus the cosine squared of x times sine squared of x plus the cosine squared of x. Now again, what do we notice about this? Hey, that's equal to 1, right? So 2. And then here, you could rewrite sine or cosine in terms of the trigonometric identity if you wanted to. But I don't think that's going to be simplify that any further, right? I mean, you could rewrite that as a 1 minus a cosine. 1 minus a cosine squared of x minus a cosine squared of x. So you could do that as a 1 minus a 2 cosine squared of x. If that's further simplified, I don't really remember what else your question was really about. That's all I really saw. So, oh, what is the standard form of that? Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think that's the last question. So let me just go and do that. So y equals -7 equals a -2/3 times x plus 1. So if you want to find this in standard form, that's not in y minus 7. Okay, so let's go back and understand what standard form is. So slope-intercept is going to be, so slope-intercept is going to be y equals mx plus b, right? Standard is going to be y equals a, or ax, ax plus by is equal to c. That's going to be your standard form. And then this looks like it's in point slope form, which point slope form, like y minus y1 equals a m times x minus x1, right? Something like that. So what you simply need to do is go ahead and distribute and then add the 7 to the other side. So we have y minus 7 is equal to a -2/3 x minus a 2/3. Right? Now, again, standard form. Now, we need to get the x and y, everything to the same side except for c, but we need to figure out the c. So to be able to do that, I got to add a 7 to both sides. So I have y equals a -2/3 x, and then I have a minus a 2/3 plus 7. Okay, so I can put that over 1, multiply by 3/3. Y equals a -2/3 x. And the reason why I do it, because I got to combine these, right? So 3 times 7 is going to be a 21, minus 2 is plus a -2, I'm sorry, it's going to be a 19. 19. Okay, so I took it from point slope. Then I put it into the slope formula. And now if I just want to put it in standard form, what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to get the x and y's to the same side. So to do that, I'm just going to add the 2/3 x to the back to the other side. So y plus a 2/3 x equals a 19/3. However, in standard form, notice how we don't, a, b, and c are going to be what we'll call integers and non-fractions. So to be able to get it into a true standard form, I'm going to multiply everything times 3. Therefore, my standard form is going to be a 3y plus 2x equals to a 19. And voila. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for me tonight. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week. Cheers.